Hi, I'm Mary Carroll. I taught English for 14 years, and I earned the Distinguished Thesis Award from Northwestern University for my master's thesis. I've designed this coursework to help you write your college papers. I will teach you how to get your words actually onto the page, how to write intelligent sentences, and how to develop logical arguments. Subscribe by clicking on the little yellow box in the corner. I post every single Monday. And hey, if one of my videos helps you, give me a thumbs up. Let's get started. Today's lesson is choosing the right connecting word. Okay, I have an example here that actually is from my master's thesis. I just pulled a paragraph out, but I want to do a couple things with it. I've got a sentence up here that shows the very formal academic style writing, and then what I've done is use this as kind of a template, and I wrote a very casual sample just to help you see how these words really are used in our everyday speech. Hartley did not intend to place himself in Spinoza's allegiance, instead proudly dedicating his work to Newton and Locke. All right, now let's take that same format and write a casual sample for you. Larry did not intend to place himself in the Buccaneers fan camp. Instead, he proudly dedicated his website to his mom and dad. In your college writing, you do have to have a little bit more care in the way you're choosing your words because you are practicing writing ideas that are developed, that are layered, that one idea causes another, one idea develops into another, one idea becomes deceased because another one pops up, and you are writing to show how all of these ideas are related to each other, okay? So you get the idea of what we're doing. The connecting word here is instead. Now, when you were in grade school and high school, your English teachers usually talked about connecting words in terms of only conjunctions. So you talked about and, or, but, if, yet, so is another one. So yes, these are still connecting words. They're perfectly good, and of course you're going to use them in college as well. But I'm pointing out a lot of other connecting words that will help you layer your ideas. Now let's take a look at this paragraph below. I'm going to read it through first, and then I'll talk about the words that I've got highlighted for you. 3 comments that Wordsworth made about Michael raise intriguing questions about the poem. The first appeared in a letter to his publisher. In his 18 December correspondence, Wordsworth was worrying about the shape of the volumes. Michael must end volume 2, he insisted. Thus, we ask the question, how does Michael serve as an appropriate conclusion to volume 2? The second of Wordsworth's comments is one that he wrote in a letter to Tom Poole, dated 9 April 1801, in which he mentioned that he had him in mind when he wrote Michael. Curious, considering that Poole was a wealthy tanner in Nether Stowey who had helped Coleridge settle there, and who had witnessed the lease signing for Wordsworth's tenancy in Alfoxden House. How does a wealthy tanner serve as inspiration for a poor shepherd? Additionally, the third comment is a note in prose works in which Wordsworth articulates in some detail his admiration for Poole, especially for his conduct to his laborers and poor neighbors. Gill notes that Wordsworth's admiration seems to testify to what he had learned from Poole's example of the virtue of steadfast commitment to a principled life in one intensely loved place. Is this the link between the tanner and the shepherd? Now let's just take a look at these connecting words that are in this paragraph. 3 comments. Notice I've set this up so that I'm going to talk about 3 particular comments that I'm going to reference, and I'm true to my word. I've got the first, the second, and the third comment, okay? Notice that there are a lot of other connecting words here, and they're not the and, or, but, yet, if, so that we always learned and talked about in high school. We have thus, which is an adverb, okay? We have in which used twice, and who used 4 times. These are pronouns. Okay. We have curious and additionally. Those are both adjectives. But notice how, in particular, the way I use the word curious serves as a comment on what happened before. So I'm allowing the reader to follow my own thinking process. So let's read this one more time to see how curious works. The second of Wordsworth's comments is one that he wrote in a letter to Tom Poole, dated 9 April 1801, in which he mentioned that he had him in mind when he wrote Michael. Curious, considering that Poole was a wealthy tanner who had helped Coleridge settle there and who would witness the lease signing, blah, blah. How does a wealthy tanner serve as inspiration for a poor shepherd? So curious, that adjective actually serves as a connecting word to keep the conversation moving. The same thing happens with this adjective. Additionally, does the same thing. So yes, I've set up the one example here, and additionally, there's another one, and we're at the third comment. All right, now this is dense writing, and you are going to get to the point where you will be doing some dense writing like this. This is obviously for an English class, but you will be doing this kind of writing as well for history papers, English papers. But if you're in a STEM field, you will still be writing papers that are going to be laying out processes, methodologies, and things like that. And so you still are going to be called upon to use proper connecting words to help the reader follow your process. All right. Now I've created an infographic here. Let's take a look at this. If you want to get this, you can go to my website called surviveenglish101.ck.page and download this. I've got the address right here at the bottom, but let's take a look at what I've set up here for you. Now, obviously, the connecting words that I have in that paragraph are not the only connecting words you can use. My point in showing you that is to point out that there are a lot of words that we use to keep our ideas flowing smoothly, okay? All right, let's take a look at what I've done here. I took a sentence and I gave you a common casual speech style rendering of this very formal academic sentence. This one says, Hartley did not intend to place himself in Spinoza's allegiance, instead proudly dedicating his work to Newton and Locke. The red identifies what the connecting word is. All right, the sample sentence, Larry did not intend to place himself in the Buccaneers fan camp. Instead, he proudly dedicated his website to his mom and dad. Now, I continued here with that same kind of setup to give you an example of how you can use these connecting words. 3 comments that Wordsworth made raise intriguing questions about the poem. All right, 3 goals that Larry made for his business venture raise intriguing questions about the investors he might have been courting. Now, these sentences, I'm not referring to anybody, it's totally made up. I'm just trying to show you how these words and these like 3 comments, first comment, second comment, and so on, these little phrases, all of these things help you develop your ideas. All right, here's another one. The first appeared in a letter to his publisher in his 18 December correspondence. Wordsworth was worrying, blah, blah, blah. And here's a casual rendering of that use. His first goal was to create a space where his childhood troubles could be shared. Thus, we ask the question, how does Michael serve as an appropriate conclusion to Volume 2? And your casual rendering, thus we can speculate that Larry might have been, oh my goodness, I've got an error in there, I'll fix that, might have been looking for investors who had experience in the self-help industry. Another one, curious, considering that Poole was a wealthy tanner who had helped Coleridge settle there and who had blah, blah, blah. Casual rendering, curious, considering that Larry's childhood traumas were nearly always centered around his football training and middle school sports experiences. All right, now, don't read anything into these little sample sentences about Larry and his website. I do not know Larry or the website. I just made the whole thing up to show you how these connecting words can be used no matter what you're writing, all right? So I want you to go to this webpage and download these free infographics to help you out, all right? My next lesson will be I'm going to show you some examples of present tense in a live paper, all right? What questions do you have about your papers? Make sure you put them in the comments below. I will be sure and answer them. And if this lesson helped you, give me a thumbs up. Thanks a lot and see you next time.